Okay, for this assignment, I want you to pick something simple, something with nice clean edges, and I want you to use the pen tool to select that object from the background. Now, I want you to look at those links, the video tutorials, to kind of get a better idea on using the pen tool. For this exercise, I'm going to go ahead and just select the cylinder here, this container, remove it from the background, and then again for the assignment, I want you to put in a new background. So you'll see how this works in just a second. So basically, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. It's making a lot of noise there. And I'll pre-apologize for the audio quality if it sounds kind of funky. I forgot my microphone, and here you get it. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is get the pen tool. The letter P for pen. And again, take a look at some of the other shortcuts and tools associated with the pen tool, how to use it. Like I mentioned in the text, it can be, a love-hate relationship, but once you get used to it, once you do it more and more, you will end up loving it because it makes nice, clean selections. So I'm going to use the pen tool, and I'm just going to pick a point to start. Notice my crosshairs, and all you have to do really is just to start clicking and dragging. Watching the videos, the other videos, if you click in one spot and click to the next spot, notice you get straight lines. But if you go in and you click and drag, you get curves. And that's, in this situation, we want a little bit of both. So I picked this example because it's really straightforward, simple example. So I'm going to start in the middle. Doesn't matter where you start, whatever works best for you. Sometimes starting on a straight edge might work best, but I know from experience I'm going to start here and I'm just going to drag to the right. Now, one thing it mentions in the videos is the direction you start dragging, you want to continue along that way. So I dragged from left to right. I want to keep going down this direction here where my cursor is. I'm going to go all around down here, around the bottom of the cylinder here, back up the other side. So in this case, I'm going clockwise from left to right. If you went the other direction, you can just continue along that way if that's where you started. The reason is that if I go this direction and now I start going over here, notice how that curve loops back on itself. And that's not something we want for this. So I'm going to undo that last step, and I'm going to go over here and just click and drag a little bit. And remember, you can always go back in and re-edit these points. Here's a nice straight edge. I'm trying to get these little handles here along the edge here. You can see it's a little out of focus, but I think not too badly. Zooming out so we can see the whole thing. And since I just clicked up top, all I have to do is now just click once and it'll create a straight line between the two. Over here I'm going to click and drag. Down in the middle here, you actually go full screen on this so we can see it. There we are. So I'm just full screen. Hitting the tab key hides all my palettes temporarily. So again, I'm going to click and drag here. And check the angle of the handles here to see what works best. If you overshoot it, no big deal. You can always go back in and correct it. One of my things is when I'm looking at the edges here, where to aim for, I'm kind of aiming in between. So in other words, I don't want to get too far in here, too far out here. I want to aim kind of in between. So when I get there, I'll show you. So again, I'm just going to click and drag here. So I'm not going to go right on the edge. I'm going to go a little bit in between and click there. As I said, you can go back in. Now you can just rough everything together, meaning you're going to put an outline around everything, or you can kind of edit as you go. It's a personal preference. It's up to you. Sometimes I do a little bit of both, depending on how easy that shape seems to be. So again, I'm just going to click up here. I'm not going to worry about this little indent right here, so I'm just going to go all the way to the top and click. Remember, you're just clicking, it'll connect those dots. Click and drag for a curve. And when you get back to the top, I'm going to click one more time to close that point. Let me undo that real quick just so you can see. So I'm here. All I did was move my cursor over here. Notice that little circle icon? That just means that we're closing that path. Click that, and now it's a completely closed path. Zoom back out. Okay, hit my tab key to bring my palettes up again. Now in the path palette, click on that, this says work path. Get in the habit of naming your paths. So I'm going to call this cylinder. You can even just leave it path if you wanted to, path 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever. The reason is that work paths are temporary. So if I went in here and I made a path, notice it automatically makes another work path. So the work path is temporary. So in other words, here is the path. If I start clicking somewhere else, or actually click off of that, now see I have cylinder and work path. If I click somewhere else, that original work path went away because it's temporary. So get in the habit of naming your paths. And my screen, sorry, I didn't realize it shrunk on us here. So let me go ahead and reset that. Like I said, I have, oh, that's because I'm on full screen, that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go to the paths, delete that. Now we have our cylinder. Now you have a couple options here. The most common one is to make the path a selection and use that selection as a layer mask. And let's go ahead and do that now. So I'm going to go ahead and, sorry, that's my cat. So I'm going to go ahead and say, click on here, and you can go to this icon. It should say Lotus, you can't even see it. It says Load Path as Selection, or Command click, and you'll get this little icon change. Anytime you Command or Control click on PC, it will load that object as a selection. So now we've loaded this cylinder as a selection. So I'm going to deselect that and do that again. So click this, and go ahead and click this icon right here, or Command or Control click this thumbnail. Click on that, and now it becomes a selection. Okay, so with our selection, we can now add that as a layer mask. What is going on? Sorry for all those pop-ins. Okay, so we have our layer here, layer 0. Go under the layer menu, layer mask, reveal selection, and now you can see the checkerboard. Our background is now invisible, and the cylinder has been isolated from the background. Okay, so now all I need to do is grab an image here. Let's see if I can open up recent. Here we go, the sky image. So all I'm going to do is drop this in just to see what it looks like, have fun with it. And so I'm going to drag this up to this tab, which is the cylinder, and back down again. And it just says different bit depth, and that's fine. One is 16, the other was 8. Click yes, and now changing the layer order here, we now have a heavenly cylinder of toffee. On this one, I'm going to go ahead and edit, free transform, and I'm going to rotate it because it's a little on the long side. Zoom out, bring it maybe down here, and maybe make it a little bit larger to fit that screen. Double click or hit the check mark up here to commit, and voila. You now have a new background behind your nicely isolated cylinder. Okay, and so that's really all the assignment entails. Now you can go a little bit further if you want, and you know, kind of embellish it, make it kind of look interesting. You know, we did that reflection thing early on in the semester. You know, maybe something like this is where you go in and you kind of tweak it a little bit. So here's something I was playing with the other day, is to make it look like the cylinder's coming out of the clouds. And the way you would achieve that is duplicating the background. So I'm going to duplicate the background, and I'm going to drag it on top of the cylinder. Okay, so obviously you can't see anything. And if I go ahead and create a clipping mask, remember the clipping mask, I can use the shape of the cylinder to mask the shape of the sky layer here. So layer, create clipping mask, and now it's in the shape of that sky layer. Now let's go ahead and add a layer mask to this. So I'm going to click on layer mask, And what I'm going to do is invert the layer mask. So I'm going to fill it with black so you can't see anything. Now, paintbrush, using white paint, we will bring back that artwork that's on that layer. Right now, with the layer mask set to black, we cannot see anything. Black hides, white shows. So here, actually I don't want to do it that side, I want to go to the bottom. So here, obviously, it doesn't look right because there's no context with the sky. I'm going to turn the sky layer back on, and now we start to see how it looks in context. You know, make the brush, nice and soft, super duper soft. Maybe a little bit bigger, and maybe lower the flow. Remember, the flow allows me to slowly build up, the effect. So it kind of makes it a little translucent. So you can kind of go in and play with this. And again, if you put too much on, you can go ahead and switch to black paint and bring it off. Okay, cool. So really, that's it. The bottom line is all you're going to do at a minimum, isolate your object from the background using a path, and use that path as a selection, and then in turn making it into a layer mask. What I like as a screenshot is seeing your path here, or you can even show the path around the actual object like this. So when you take a screenshot, show the path around the object, and then also I want to see the layers as well. Okay, and so if you have any questions, anything like that, please feel free to let me know. Again, the pen tool can be a challenge, but once you get the hang of it, you're going to really like it. Good luck.